Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our fourth training session. We have done a lot in Linux, the basics in Linux, and I believe that by now, for those who have been practicing, at least they are somewhere now. They cannot be totally lost with Linux. So today, we are going to do file permissions. We are going to understand what file permissions are in Linux, and then we are going to see what they represent, how we can change them. There are two ways of changing them. We have the numerical and the alphabetical notations. The numerical and the alphabetical notations. So, before we move ahead, we will still come back to look at what we have already seen. We have seen how to see the list of files according to timestamp. When you run the command ls-it, you will see the list of those commands. We have seen to know the current user, the command here on how to know the current user is, we all acknowledge that it was pwd, which was print working directory. And then we have the differences between the dollar sign and the hash sign. We were told that the dollar sign stands for low privileges, while the hash sign stands for high privileges, and the high privileges are always being used by the root user. That's the difference between the dollar sign and the hash sign. And where do you see the dollar sign? We'll come to it, and all of us will still witness it. Then, how to switch from one user to another? We said it was sudo. How to switch from one user to another? You will run the command sudo. And then, importance of sudo. Sudo is superuser do. Superuser do. And then we are going to have the date command and the cal command. Cal is the current date, to get the current month of your calendar. So that is all what we have done. This is what we need to do. I believe all of us knowing Linux, because everything in the cloud is Linux, guys. Everything in the cloud, most of it is going to be Linux. You are going to configure your servers in Linux. You are going to run most of your commands in Linux. Everything you are going to be doing, you are going to be working on the platform which is going to be used in accessing your server. You are going to mostly even always use Linux. So it is better that before we begin, you have the basics of Linux handy with you and know everything. I remember that in one of my interviews, the first question that I was ever asked was to explain the understanding of file permissions. They asked me to explain file permissions. What is the meaning of read? What is the meaning of write, and all whatnot? So take this lesson for today very seriously. Without further much, let us log into our AWS console. It beats my imagination that some people do not yet understand the meaning of their AWS account and their EC2 account. Somebody in trying to create an EC2 machine came and put the name of that EC2 machine here. Please, there is one thing, as computer engineers, there is one thing that I want to ask from you. I must demand from you. Always read what the computer tells you. In essence, anybody who is smart enough and is very careful can learn alone without anybody telling him anything to do. Because information is always given to you and asked from you. I don't imagine how they can write it here, root user email address, and then somebody goes and put the name of an EC2 machine here. It doesn't make sense. That means you did not even read what was written there. You are just trying to force yourself to do things that you don't know. No, it doesn't work that way. Please take your time, read what is written in front of you, and ask yourself that what are they asking from me? How can I respond to it? Don't just see spaces and you go putting anything in those spaces. It doesn't work like that, okay? So here like this, we are going to put our email address, the email address in which we are using. Remember I said I'm using my company email address. You go to next, then you insert your password. Somebody asked me which password are they asking here. The password that they are asking here is the password that you created while creating your AWS account. That is the password that they are asking. It is the password that you created when you were creating your AWS account. So we want to log into our AWS console. The reason we are logging into our AWS console is because we want to create an EC2 instance, and it is from that EC2 instance that we are going to be working with our Linux commands. We are going to be working with our Linux commands from our EC2 instance. All right, I surely should have a lot of instances running, but we are going to create a new instance for the sake of those who are unable still to create EC2 instances. Please watch the videos and practice. Don't only watch the videos and stay. Watch the videos and practice. And when you have problems, anytime you have problems, come to the general forum and complain there. Don't call me, please. Don't call me. If you must write, just write in the general forum. I will see. If I see that you have a complaint at the level of the general forum, I will respond immediately. Please don't call me. Write to me or write at the general forum. I will respond to you immediately. So let's launch our instance. So today I would like that we should work on Ubuntu machine. We have worked on AWS Linux. I want that we should work on the Ubuntu machine today, so that we change the flavor of Linux that we are having. You know, Linux is made up of different flavors. You should know the difference in the flavors of Linux and how they differ in their commands. When you hear of Ubuntu, Ubuntu is a different flavor of Linux, and Red Hat is a different flavor, and AWS Linux is another flavor. So let us create an Ubuntu flavor Linux. We give the name of our computer Ubuntu. Now we take the Ubuntu operating system. The latest version is, the most stable version was the 2018 version. I think it is removed. So we take the latest version, which is the Ubuntu Server 22. At the level of instance state, we take T2 micro. We do not need to create any key pair. We have a lot of key pairs in our decks. So we take AWS training 1000 bash key pair. For the level of for the sake of our demonstration, please, I have opened all the security groups. Here is a problem where most of you are going to be facing a lot of issues at the level of networking. If you look at, I am trying to create a Linux machine. Linux has to always open the security group with the port SSH, right? Now, when you open the SSH port, that is the time when you can have access to your Linux machine. If you do not open the SSH port, you are not going to be able to have access to your Linux machine. It is not going to be possible. All right. So you should always, when you are creating the Linux, you should always have the SSH open. When you are creating the Windows, you should always have your RDP port open, right? And if you are going to access your server from a web-based application, then you should always allow HTTP traffic from the internet, right? You should always allow your HTTP traffic. But for my security, for my easy going, there is a security group that I've created, and in that security group, I have allowed all traffic to pass in, which is not something to do in the industry. Please, you should always add some layer of security. Okay, in this security group, DevSec group, not Virginia, I have allowed all the traffic to be passing through. Now we come at the level of our hard drive, our EBS. Here we have 8 GB. Our 8 GB is good for us for our demonstration. Good. Here is the summary of all what we have done here. We have the summary this way. We launch our instance. Our instance is now launched. All throughout, we have been using PuTTY to connect, but I'm going to show you another way by which you can connect. I told you that the second way by which you can connect is by using Git Bash. And I told you that in order to use Git Bash, you have to install the application Git. When you install the application Git, that is when you are going to have Git Bash. And when you have Git Bash installed in your computer, the next thing that you are going to do is, look at here, when I right click inside my Windows computer, I will see an option here that says Git Bash here, Git Bash here. So when you install Git Bash, you will not need to pass through PuTTY, you will be passing through Git Bash. So let us pass through Git Bash and get access to our machine. How to get access to our machine through Git Bash? Our machine is already running. You select your machine, then you click on connect. Here is connect up here. You click on connect. And when you click on connect, you go to SSH client. When you go to SSH client, you are going to see the example of your SSH which you need to connect through. This is the example. You are going to copy the whole of all these address here like this. You copy it, and then you come to where your key pairs are located. All my key pairs are located in this folder. There is a folder which is named AWS and Azure keys. Azure is another platform, please. When you must have finished AWS, you will be asked to learn Azure. Azure is another platform. So you come here. Here is the key pair that I have used. I have used the key pair AWS training 1000 bash. It is available here. So I'm going to open Git Bash from here, from this location where my key pair is. I open Git Bash from here. When I open Git Bash from here, I am supposed to log in. Now you can see that the head is pointing on my, let me increase it, please. I think we can be able to see now. You can see that the head is pointing on where my AWS keys are located. So remember that I copied this SSH from here. I copied from here. Then I'm coming to Git Bash now. I am pasting it here. When I paste my SSH here, I just press enter on my keyboard. When I press enter on my keyboard, they're asking me if I want to connect to my machine. I answer yes and press enter. Under every circumstances, I am supposed to connect to my machine. Of course, I have connected to my machine. All right. After having connected to my machine, what do I see? I see that there is a lot of information in my machine, a lot of it. We talked about the clear command. You can use the clear command to clear your screen, right? You type clear and your screen is being cleared up. When your screen is cleared up, where are we right now? Which type of user do we have here? we can discover that we have a normal user. A normal user. This is not a root user. This is a normal user with very low privileges. In our notes, we said when you see a dollar sign, know that you are using a normal user. Okay, and in order to move to a super user, which command should we run? We should run the command sudo su hyphen. When you run this command sudo su hyphen, you discover that instead of a dollar sign now, you have a hash sign. This hash sign shows that you are now operating as a root user, with higher privileges. Okay, a root user with higher privileges. The first thing that you should always do when you log into your Ubuntu machine is always update the repository. Which repository are we updating? We are updating the sudo apt repository, sudo apt update. That's the command to update your repository, right? Sudo apt update. When you run that command, you see your repository are getting updated. What are repositories and why do they get updated? Repositories are the various commands that you always give to your computer. So if you don't update them, there will be some commands that will not work. Okay, so I've updated my repository. I can clear my screen. When I clear my screen now, we begin. What is our mode of operation today? We want to look at understanding file permissions. We need to understand file permissions. What is a file permission and why do we need it in order to understand? Let's hit over here. Let us create a file. Let us create a file called school. We create a file called school, right? We have created a file called school, and then let us create a folder called university. I'm sure you should know all these commands. To create a file, we use the command touch. To create a folder, we are going to use the command mkdir. Mk stands for make, dir stands for make directory. We want to make a directory called university. Okay, everything seems good. I execute by clicking on insert. So now, how do we see our file and our directory that we have created? ls, it is going to show us our file and our directory. The file that we created is school. It is in white. The directory that we created is university. It is in sky blue. And we did say the difference between a file and a directory is that a directory is some sort of a folder with respect to Windows machine, while a file is a raw formatted file. Okay, so inside we can move over to the directory university by moving with cd university. If we move over to university, you discover that we are now in university. How do we know that we are now in university? Because behind the hash sign, we can see university there. So we can discover that we are now in university. Now, what can we do inside university? We can create another file inside university. Touch biochemistry. That was my department in the University of Yaoundé 1. Touch biochemistry. So we are creating a file called biochemistry inside university. How do we know we created that file? We run ls inside university. We see the file biochemistry that has been created here, right? Now we have created a series of files. Let us go back to our home directory. How do we go back to our home directory? we use cd, simple, and then we are back to our home directory. How do we know that we are now in our home directory? You see, here we had university, but here we do not more have any university before it. So we are now comfortable in our home directory. Good. Now we have a file and we have a folder that we have created. The file school ls. We have the file school. In this file school, let us see what is happening with the file. In order to see what is happening to the file school, let us run a command. We are going to run a command which is going to show us the details of everything concerning that file. Okay, the command that we are going to run is ls-it. Let us run ls not ls-it, ls-alh. Okay, we run ls-alh. Now what do you see? We have the file school. This is the file school here, right? We have the file school. Take a look at this. Let me zoom where I'm trying to explain very well. Okay, take a look at this, please. This is the file called school. This is the file called school. If you look at the file called school, it is not a folder, it is a file. You are going to see this there. Let us copy this and use somewhere for demonstration. You are going to see there's a hyphen, there's an R, there's a W, there's another hyphen, there's an R, there's another hyphen, there's a hyphen, there's an R, there's another hyphen. Let us come and demonstrate what all these things are and see what we need to take from there. Now, I would like to demonstrate that in, let's demonstrate that in Word. All right. This is what we had. Excuse me. This is what we had from here, from the file called school. This is what we are going to take from there. We copy from here. All right. This is what we have here. Okay. We have a hyphen, an R, a W, a hyphen, an R, and so on. This is how it works, please. Look up very well. We have 1, 2, 3, and then we have a hyphen again. Then we have 1, 2, 3. We have a hyphen again, and then we have 1, 2, 3. That means now there are 3 characters at the beginning. There are 3 characters in the middle, and there are 3 characters at the end. What do these 3 characters stand for? The 3 characters stands for 3 different functionalities. The first functionality is owners. The second functionality is groups. We have owners, we have groups, and the third functionality is others. Now, with all these functionalities, there are different letters associated to them. We have R, which stands for read. We have W, which stands for write. Then we have X, which stands for execute. Now, The first functionality stands for owners. The second functionality stands for group. And the third functionality stands for others. What is the meaning of that? It means in a file like school, this is a file called school, right? In a file like school, this school is having three different functionalities. We have owners, which stands for O. We have groups, which stands for G, and then we have others, which stands for U. Let's use the right convention. Owners stands for U, because we are going to use that convention, this naming convention, when we come to the other means of calculating these permissions. All right, now look at very attentively, please. This file school has the following permission. Let's get back to our platform. The file school, this is the file school, has the following permission. These first three features here stands for read, write, and execute. But we do not see X here. We see only R and W, and this R and W are in whose portion? We said the first three portions stands for owners. That means owners can read the file and can write the file, but cannot execute the file. Owners can only read the file, because we have only read, write, and there is a hyphen here, right? We have only read, write, and there is a hyphen. This first hyphen that is hanging here, why is the hyphen there? The hyphen is there because it wants to differentiate itself from a repository. If it was a directory, you could have seen a D here, like this one. See the university that we created. You see the first one, there is a D here. This D stands for directory. It shows that it is a directory. But when you don't see any D here, you will see a hyphen. And the hyphen shows that it is a file. Now, we remove the first hyphen. We start from the second hyphen going further, right? From the second hyphen going further, we discover that the first letter that we have is an R. This R stands for read. We have a W, which stands for write, and then we do not have anything here. There is no X. Normally we should have RWX, like up here. Like in this file SSH, the first owners have the right to write the file, read the file, and execute the file. But groups, the second three characters stands for groups. Groups have the right to read the file, cannot write on the file, and cannot execute on the file. The next three properties stands for others. Others have the right to read the file. They don't have the right to write on the file, nor to execute on the file. So let us come back to our file school. That means owners can write on this file, but they cannot execute the file. Of course, it is not an executable file. Okay. Now, others can read, but cannot write nor cannot execute. That means in our file, these others like this cannot execute the file and cannot write on the file. Why? Because, let's demonstrate here. We have dash 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 dash. Okay, just below this, the first dash always stands for read. The second one The first dash stands for read, the second one stands for write, and then the third one stands for execute. Okay, the first one starts for read, second one write, third one execute. Next, that means if we can see all these things here, that means this owner, this guy is owner. This owner have the right to read, write, and execute. Good. If we come down to groups and we see read, we see dash, we see X, that means that what? The group has the right to write on the file, cannot read what is on the file, but can execute what is on the file, right? And then we come to others the same. Okay, so that is the meaning of all these jargon that you always see here. If you see a file here, come here and look at the file permissions. Who has the right to do what on the file? If you see only RW on the extreme left, that means the owner has the right to read and write. And if you see at the middle, whatever you see there, that means it is the permission of the group. And at the extreme right, whatever you see there, it is a permission for others. Okay, how do we calculate these permissions? What do we do with the permissions and how do we calculate the permissions? Okay, this is the most interesting part of it. Now, let's come to our demonstration board. Read is represented by a number. Read is represented by a number 4. Write is represented by a number 2. And then execute is represented by a number 1. This is how they are represented. Okay, let's move to the next page. This is what they are being represented with. All right, let's say the file school. The file school has, in this very file school, what are we seeing in this file? We are discovering that the file school, the owner does not have the right to execute that file. The owner cannot execute that file. So how are we going to do? We want to add an X here like this, so that it should be that the owner have the right to read the file, write the file, and execute the file. If there is no X here, the owner cannot execute the file, right? So let us give the owner the right to read this file, write the file, and execute the file. How do we do that? We are going to do that by writing a command. The command is change mode. We have a change mode, and then we give the value. I'll tell you how they calculate this value. We give the value 700, and then we give school. Let us run this command first of all and see what happens before we come and explain. Now we run the command change mode. I have to do this in order that you should see. We run the command change mode, and then we put 700, and then we put our file is school. Let us run this command and see what happens. Okay, the command ran successfully. Let us run again ls -alh. Now look at what is happening now with our file school. Our file school now has read, write, and execute, but nothing here. I'll explain to you why there is nothing here. Our file school now has read, write, and execute. This is what I did. Now look at what I did. I ran the command change mode 700 school, right? How did I get this value 700? I discovered that if read is given the value 4, write is given the value 2, and execute is given the value 1, then if I take 4 plus 2 plus 1, it gives me 7, right? So if I give the value 7 to the owners, then the owners are going to have all the functionality of read, write, execute. This value 700, there are 3-digit numbers. The first digit stands for the first characteristics of owners. The first digit stands for the characterization of owners. The second digit stands for the characterization of others, of groups, and the last digit stands for the characterization of others. So if I give 7 to owners, then I have given all the characteristics to owners, all the permissions I have given to owners. If I give 0 at the middle, what am I talking to? Who am I talking to by giving 0 in the middle? I'm talking to groups. Therefore, the groups will have no permission at all. And if I give 0 at this extreme end, who am I talking to? I am talking to the others. The others will have no permission at all. Now, if on the other hand, I give this value, I run change mode, and I give this value 764, what will happen if I give this value 764 and then I run school? What will happen? Then I have given all the permission to owners. I have given what type of permission to groups here? What type of permission have I given to group? 4 plus 2 gives us 6, right? 4 plus 2 gives us 6. Therefore, I have given the read and the write permission. I have given the read and the write permission to groups. And then what type of permission have I given to others? I have given only the read permission to others. Okay? I've given only the read permission to others. Let's run the command and see what happens. We run the command change mode without an E, please. 764, and then we say school. Run the command change mode 764 school. What happened? The command ran successfully. ls-alh. Let's see what is happening there. This is our file school. What happened to our file school now? Our file school is now having what? The first 3 characterization, all of them are complete. Owners can read, they can write, and they can execute. Now, the second 3 characters, groups can only read and write because we gave it only a 6. And then others can only write. They can only read, please. They cannot write nor execute. What if we decide to give all the commands, all the permissions to all the various sections of users? That means we give all permission to owners, we give all permission to groups, and we give all permission to others. What would the command be down here? Our command will certainly be change mode. Instead of 6 now, we have 7 given to groups, and we also have 7 given to others. If we run this command, what will happen? Our file will now be given access to from all levels. That means owners have access to it, groups have access to it, and others have access to it. Let's run the command and see. Change mode 777 school. What happens here? Command ran successfully, ls-alh. Look at what is happening now to our school file. All the various permissions are given. The first three, owners can read, write, and execute. Second three, groups can read, write, and execute. Third three, others can read, write, and execute. So that's how you change the file permission in Linux. That is the way we change file permission in Linux. That was the first method of changing file permissions. Okay, that's the first method of changing file permissions. We are going to go to the second method of changing file permissions, which is the alphabetical method. We have just finished with the numerical method. We have the alphabetical method. Any question before we move over to the alphabetical method? Anybody has a question? Please, if you have a question, just raise your hand up. All right. I guess it is either that my students are so dumb or my explanation is so good. When you teach without anybody asking a question, it is either your students are so dumb or your explanation is too good. I don't know which of them, but I hope it is the latter. Okay, let us go to alphabetical notation. So we have successfully changed the format of our file school. Now, in alphabetical notation, what happens there? We have this situation. Just like I tried to give the naming convention of the file, owners are represented by the letter U, groups are represented by the letter G, and others are represented by the letter O. Good. Now, if we want to give owners the right to read, write, or execute, we still have our read, which is represented by R. We still have our write, which is represented by W, and we still have our execute, which is represented by the letter X. Now, we want to give owners the right to read, or what to remove. At the moment, owners have all the rights, but we want to remove some of it. So we run the command change mode. Let's run the command change mode. Change mode. We have owners. We remove. What do we want to remove? Let's remove execute from owners. We remove execute. You see what we did? We ran change mode U and then minus X. X stands for execute. We are removing execute in what? In school. That is the command that we are going to run. So let's come to our console and run the command. We run the command change mode change mode U minus X of what? Of school. Let's run that command. Our command ran successfully. Let's see whether we successfully remove execute from school. ls -alh. Good. This is school. We discover that X is no more there, right? X is no more there. We have successfully removed X. Which command did we run? We ran the command chmod u and we remove X from school. Okay. We can also remove X from others, and we can also remove it from group. Which command should we run if we want to remove X from others? Run change mode. We run change mode, and then we have groups, and then we have minus, and then we have X. This will remove the execute from groups, and then we want to remove, at the same time we are removing execute from group, we also want to remove execute from others. So we have O minus X, right, of what? Of school. So this is it. We are changing the mode. We are removing X from G, comma, and we are removing X from O, from the file school. Let us run it and see. Change mode, where we have groups, where we remove X, and then comma, we have others, where we remove X in what? School. I don't think there is a space here. Okay, let's execute and see. Our command did not run well. You can see that our change mode had an E. All right, please. Always when you run into this type of uncomfortable situation, always read what your output is. Look at what I wrote. I wrote a change mode with an E, but a change mode should not have an E. With Linux, if you miss a single letter, your command is not the same command again. So we run the command change mode G minus X, comma, O minus U minus X, please, of school. We run the command. Still, our command did not work. What happened? My change mode was still wrong. Exactly. Many a times, I always face these problems. So when you are working with Linux, please always make sure that you take care. Be as diligent as possible, as diligent as anything, please. I believe now that my command is okay. It runs successfully now. Okay, ls -alh. Let us see. Look at our school it is now we have removed the X, and the X from our school. Owners can no more execute, groups can no more execute, others can no more execute. Okay, so this is the alphabetical method of adding. You can also add, don't mind because we subtracted, you can also add, and we can add and subtract at the same time. For example, I can run the command change mode. I can run the command change mode while adding that owners should have the execute characteristics. At the same time, I am removing that same characteristics from, I'm removing the right characteristics from groups. I'm removing right characteristics from group, and also maybe adding or removing, let's remove the read characteristics or the write characteristics from others of school. Now look at what this command is going to do. It is going to add the execute characteristic to owners. It is going to remove the read characteristics from group, and it is going to remove the write characteristics from others of the file school. So let's run the command and see what happens. Let us run the command and see what happens. It's possible to copy a command, very possible. So that's the command change mode. That I think we are good to go. Good, our command executed without any failure. ls-alh. You see, in school now, owners can read, write, and execute. Groups cannot read, they can write, but they cannot execute. Others can only read, they cannot write, they cannot execute. So that is how we attribute file permissions in Linux. That's how we attribute file permissions in Linux. So the only thing that is left in Linux for us to do is the pipe function. And with the pipe function, we are going to see that in our next class, because after that, we are entering into server configuration in Linux and in Windows. So from our next class, we are moving over to very serious things. We are going to be configuring servers both in Linux and in Windows. So please make sure you go through these videos. I don't want to make them long. I don't want to make the class so long. I intend that the class should just be exactly 1 hour, so that you yourself, you can find some time and go through the videos sufficiently and then practice. Guys, a lot of you are not practicing, but you want to do things to make things happen. It is impossible. You must first of all practice before you start doing things. Watch the videos firstly. The first thing is watch the videos and take down your notes. Take down your notes. Avoid studying on the bed. Avoid studying with your phone. Sit on a study table while watching the videos. Take down your notes. That is how I studied. In fact, I have a transcript of what all my trainers were talking, because as I'm listening to the videos, there's a lot that they say that you never see anywhere. As I'm listening to the videos, I always write everything down. So I implore you to do the same. So guys, follow the videos concisely, take down your own notes, make the notes as if you are going to teach a child with it, elaborately, and then start practicing. You will start, it will become difficult at the beginning, but gradually it will be something which you master. And if it is not difficult, then you are not learning. It has to beat you. You have to do it wrongly over and over and over. When you do it wrongly and you get nervous and angry, that is when the learning starts entering. Because when you start getting nervous and angry, it marks a period in you that you will not forget about that mistake because it makes you angry. So that is when learning comes. If you only get everything right all the times, everything right all the times, at one moment you will think that you know, but you don't know anything. Just keep it for 2 days. You will come back, you will come as a new person, as somebody who has never ever seen anything. All right. So guys, there are some people that did not know how to shut down their computers. So whenever you finish practicing, you clear your interface. When you clear your interface, you can now leave uh, Git Bash. When you leave Git Bash, you come to your AWS console where you are working. You go back to your instances. When you go to your instances, this is the instance that we have been working all through along with. You click on the instance, you come to instance state, and then you come down to terminate instance. Don't allow your instances to be running. It will cost you money. Don't allow your instances to be running. When you finish practicing with your instances, you terminate them, please. Terminate your instances the moment you finish with them. So you click on terminate and then terminate. Now the instance got successfully terminated. This is it up here in blue that you have successfully terminated your instances. So it is going to take some time to shut down. Instance state, you see now this one is shutting down. It is going to take some time to shut down, right? But I believe now that it is shutting down in the data center wherever it is created. I can now log out of my AWS console and go without any problem. If you allow your instances running, it is going to cost you a lot of money. In fact, I know I'm saying this on record, but it is not good practice. I have a lot of accounts that have been over built. I have an account that is built for almost close to $300 because I used a lot of resources that were highly built and I allowed them functional. So when you finish with your instances, always terminate them, please. Always terminate them. Very important. All right. At the end of the day, I still give opening for questions. This time, everybody must speak. Barton, you are jumping in and out. What happened today? On mute.
It's still the network issues. I'm using MTN, but nothing is changing. I don't know why.
You keep going off and on. So please, you make use of the videos. Is that clear? Make good use of the
Yes, sir.
videos. Adija,
Yes, sir.
I hope prayers have ended with you. Adija, are you on or you are sleeping? Adija must have slept. We have an elephant in the house, Mr. Nja Walters.
Good evening, sir. Good evening to everybody.
I hope we were concise and clear.
Thanks. Yes, sir. I really enjoyed the lesson. It was explicit. Thank you very much.
Thank you everybody. All right, guys, make sure you practice. We meet on Monday. Good night to everybody.